Hi. So I am Sierra. Let me take these off because there's a glare. I am making this video right now to provide some clarification and just some information about me and my current situation. As you can tell from the title of the video, I left the Jehovah's Witnesses. And I officially disassociated myself. And yeah, I am sure there are a lot of rumors going around right now. I don't know if it's perhaps within my own congregation, within other congregations, but I just wanted to take this time to set the record straight and let you know why I left. There are many reasons, of which I don't think that I'm going to go into today, but it all boils down to me not believing that Jehovah's Witnesses taught the truth. I don't believe that the governing body is God's own representative on earth. And apparently, I don't know if you've seen the Australian Royal Commission, but Jeffrey Jackson doesn't think so either. So if you haven't seen that, you should really go look at that. And I will touch on the Australian Royal Commission more later, but yeah, so I didn't get in trouble. I haven't done anything that would warrant me being disfellowshipped or reproved or whatever, according to, Jehovah's Witness lore, Jehovah's Witness rules, whatever. I simply did research and I realized that I couldn't support an organization that tells lies, an organization that protects pedophiles, and an organization that makes a bunch of empty promises and has made empty promises and declared prophecies, declared things that were going to happen in the future that did not. So, just a little brief overview of me. I say that I grew up around Jehovah's Witnesses because my grandmother was a witness and she lived with my parents when my sister and I were growing up. And I grew up going to meetings with her. I had a fairly normal childhood compared to most Jehovah's Witness kids, though, because my parents were not witnesses. They never got baptized. They never took to all of the beliefs and whatever you want to call them. My mom was raised around Jehovah's Witnesses to force myself not to say the truth because it is not the truth at all. But yeah, so she grew up around Jehovah's Witnesses, but she was never baptized. And I've asked her about that over the years and more recently, and she told me that she chose not to be involved with it because she saw a lot of hypocrisy. And when I was younger, I was, even in my early 20s, I was like, well, Mom, you can't let, other people's decisions affect your relationship with Jehovah, because that's what I was always told. That's what's drilled into your mind, You can't let others damage your relationship with Jehovah. Other people are going to make mistakes. Your brothers and sisters are imperfect. So there's going to be feelings that are hurt. Toes are going to be stepped on. Blah, blah, blah. Yada, yada, yada. All that jazz. And so I really took that to heart. I considered it. I thought about it. And I said, that's right. I can't let other people, dictate my relationship with Jehovah. So my grandmother grew up studying with us, and my sister stopped going to meetings when she was around, 14, 15. There were a series of things, hypocritical people saying things to her and people just not staying in their lane and offering unsolicited advice. That's very common within the Jehovah's Witness congregations, especially sisters. The Pioneer Sisters always love to give you unsolicited advice. So, so that was with my sister. And I grew up, we studied with my grandmother. But I will admit that going through it, even as a teenager, I was kind of just going through the motions. I didn't fully grasp all of the teachings. I didn't fully understand, exactly what we believed. I remember specifically when I was a senior in high school. Yes, I was taking AP English, and my teacher was talking about something along the lines of, what was she talking about? I don't know. We were talking about a book, and we were on the theme of, acceptance and tolerance, and we were just talking about all the differences, like no matter what, you're supposed to respect people, even if you don't agree with their views. And we talked about how, some people might believe in the Trinity, some people might not, some people may not believe in any religion at all, and that's okay. They still deserve respect, even if their views don't align with yours. And I just remember kind of getting caught on the whole Trinity thing, because I realized in that moment that I didn't know. I was like, do I believe in the Trinity? And by do I believe in the Trinity, I meant do Jehovah's Witnesses believe in the Trinity? And I genuinely didn't know, because when I tell you, I just sat at meetings and just kind of in one ear, out the other. That's what I was doing. Honestly, I enjoyed the social aspect of it more, which is also kind of weird because I didn't have friends my own age at that time. I had one friend. He was a brother in the congregation at the time, and I ended up having a crush on him. So, but we were friends. We had a good friendship at that time. So we would talk and we'd chat from time to time. But yeah, so, and I remember asking one of my friends in school. I mean, wasn't allowed to have friends in my high school, but I did. But yeah, so I asked her and I said, hey, do you believe in the Trinity? And she very confidently said, yeah, I do. And I was just like, oh, interesting. Do I believe in the Trinity? No. Yes? Maybe? I don't know. I didn't know what Jehovah's Witnesses believe because I wasn't paying attention. So, fast forward, I don't know, maybe just a couple weeks from there, I decided that I was going to study the Bible and make the truth my own, because that is what's drilled into your head over and over. You must make the truth your own. Your salvation cannot depend on somebody else's action. So essentially, my grandmother was the person that had taught me about Jehovah's Witnesses. So, and God and, Jehovah. So I can't rest on her salvation. I have to have my own salvation. So I remember praying to God, and I asked that he please help me to learn more about him, because I didn't know what I believed, and I wanted to have my own study separate from my sister and my grandmother. It's just not cool to study with your grandmother anymore, And at this time, the organization was moving to the online setup of everything. So I was like, yeah, no, I want to study with someone younger, someone cooler, someone hip, someone hip. So I prayed, and I believe I did have a conversation with my grandmother, and I asked her, and I told her, I was like, I do want to study with other people. And it was within a day or two, she came back from service. And if you don't know what service is, if you're not a witness or a former witness, it's when you go knocking on doors and preaching about God's kingdom. And she came back and she told me that there was a couple who wanted to study with me. And I was like, okay, cool. Yay. I was so excited. So we started studying. I think we started studying the Imitate Their Faith book first. And then we went into, I think it was Learn from the Great Teacher, and then God's Love book. I believe those were the two books at the time that you needed to study in order to become baptized. So I began studying those. But I also went off to college. So college is a very touchy subject for Jehovah's Witnesses, because honestly, you're encouraged not to go to college. You're encouraged to learn a trade, or, if you do go to college, make it an associate's degree, but mainly it's living on campus. You don't want to live on campus. And guess what? Your girl lived on campus, and honestly, it was fantastic. I loved it. I loved college. I had a great time. But just my personality and who I am, I'm very firm in my beliefs and what I choose for myself. I'm not a follower. I don't let people decide for me what I'm going to do. I make that decision on my own. So I was determined that I was going to continue to, be a witness and do what I needed to do in a spiritual sense, even when I was off in college. So I remember when I had applied for colleges, and people knew that I was graduating from high school, so they asked, so what are you going to do, Sierra? Well, you're going to graduate. And the answer that the standard Jehovah's Witnesses, oh, I want to pioneer and I'm going to get a part-time job, or I'm going to stay home and go to school part-time and work part-time and pioneer. I was like, oh, I'm going to college. And even as I said I'm going to college, I knew that I was going to get certain looks, or people were going to react in certain ways. And I was like, yeah, I'm going to college. And I remember it took a little bit of time for me to get my acceptance back from the school that I really wanted to go to. And people were asking me, oh, well, where are you going to go? And I said, well, I'm still waiting to hear. And, some people were just like, oh, people were they're asking questions. But finally I did get my acceptance letter to the school that I did end up going to. Go Deeks. Loved Wake Forest, gotta say. Any fellow Deeks out there, please go Deeks in the comments. But anyway, I went off to college. I had a congregation there, and when I first got to school, they put me in a service group. They transferred my card and they put me in a service group, and they automatically matched me or put me with one sister to study with. And it was the group overseer's wife. And I remember having, I don't know, maybe a good 3 to 4 months of studies with her. And I realized this just wasn't going to work. I was like, there's nothing against her, nothing against, it wasn't anything personal. It's just we didn't mesh. We did not mesh well. And I don't mean that we argued. It's just I didn't feel like I could be completely honest and authentic and really, develop that relationship to where I felt comfortable talking about any and everything. Because I did feel that way with a couple that I had started studying with. The brother and the sister, amazing people, loved them. And the sister that I started studying with initially, she's a great sister as well. She's a wonderful person, but just personality wise, it just wasn't going to work. So I did end up ending the study that I had with her, and I started studying with another sister in that congregation at the time. So throughout all 4 years, I was going to school. I was having a Bible study. I was attending meetings. Our meeting was on Thursday. Our midweek meeting was Thursday, and then our Sunday meeting. And then on top of that, I've got homework, I've got classes, there's, events on campus. I'm also hanging out with my friends that I made in college, which technically I wasn't supposed to do, but YOLO. I also studied abroad while I was in college. So my sophomore year, I studied abroad in Italy. I spent a semester there, and even while I was there, I found a congregation. I went to meetings. I went out in service a couple of times, and it was like my safe haven. It was like a comfort blanket for me at that time, because I was in a strange city. I was with other students from Wake, but I didn't know any of them. Not really. And they were, they wanted to party, they wanted to have a good time, and I just wasn't used to being around people who drank a lot and used foul language and things like that. I just wasn't used to being around that, and it kind of felt a little crazy. And so going to the meetings was my constant while I was there, while I was in another country. So I enjoyed it. I made it a point to, first I went to the Italian congregation, and a sister came to the house and picked me up, and then they connected me with someone at the English congregation, and then she met me at the bus stop and showed me how to get there. And eventually, it took maybe 2 or 3 times, and I was taking the bus and walking to the bus stops and taking the trams to get to the meeting myself. And So, like I said, this went on, and this was, guys, I'm not even baptized at this point. I became an unbaptized publisher, I believe, my freshman year of college. And I'm doing all of this stuff, and I'm not even baptized. So like I said, I continued my Bible study all through those 4 years, and I also had a potential like romantic interest that I met my freshman year, and I cut that off because I was convinced that, Jehovah God would hate me and be angry with me if I pursued anything with him, and I ended that. And that was probably, that's something that I look back on now, and I, always ask myself, what if I hadn't, done that? What if I had actually given it a chance? And, what if I'd woken up sooner? I wish that I had. But anyway, so can't change the past. But so I graduated, and you can see, I don't know if you guys can see my little corgi in the corner. Hello, my little chunky boy. Hello. Can you say hi? Can you say hi to the camera? Can you say hello? Mommy's telling a story. Mommy's telling a story. Can you see? Are you watching? Yes, you're so cute. You're so adorable. Hey, who's that? Is that you? Is that you, buddy? Yeah, okay. Get down. Little chunky boo. Yeah. So I graduated college, came back home, went back to my congregation, and I'm not gonna lie, like people were, when I came back, they were like, "Oh, you're back," and I'm like, yeah, like I didn't just, go off to college and live a debauched life, because that's what they think is automatically going to happen if you go to college. If you live on campus, you're going to become this horrible person, and you're going to drink, and you're going to do drugs, and you're going to have sex, and you're going to do all these things, and you're going to get pregnant if you're a girl, and it's just anyway, I didn't do that. So, and I came back, and I got baptized in 2020. So yeah, a year after I graduated, actually, within that year after I graduated college. And I was going through the motions, I was doing the stuff I was supposed to do. I was going out in service. I had my highs and lows, like times where I was super motivated and really loved being out in service, and I thought I was really doing this great things. And then other times when I was just doing it, I was literally just like going through the motions, just doing it because I knew that I was supposed to. There was a time, 2021, this was the one and only time I ever dated anyone. He was an elder, and that just wasn't a good relationship for me. But I got I guess kind of not instinct, I guess an idea of what it would be like to marry sorry, my dog wants his toy. I guess I got an idea of what it would be like to marry an elder, or essentially, I guess, what would be expected of me if I married a very by the book witness. And all I can say is thank God I didn't, because I'd probably hate my life right now if I had. But yeah, so that went by, and there was a lot of just emotional stuff that I dealt with afterwards. And this stemmed from a lot of different places. Self-esteem issues, not feeling like I was enough, which in part, I felt some of those feelings when I was in the relationship, but just I struggled with my self-esteem since middle school. And I don't know, I think it's just something about, there's this idea in the organization also. I'm sorry, sir, can you get out of the frame? Thank you, appreciate it. Love you, babe. Sorry. Here, take this. Okay, go. Sorry. But yeah, so had self-esteem issues since middle school. I was a chunky kid, stemmed from that. Just not really thinking much of myself, not really believing in myself much, I guess, if you want to say that too. And so yeah. So yeah, the relationship was like a big emotional moment for me. And then something else that was huge for me was 2023, I think. Yes, 2023. I was sitting at a meeting, and it was our circuit overseer visit. And the circuit overseer, it was his first time in our congregation. So he told our congregation that he wanted to see everyone. He wanted to meet all the families. So after the meeting, please come up to the family. Please come up to him afterwards and come meet him and his wife, because he wanted to meet everybody. So, it's like, come with your families, everything, whatever. And there was nothing inherently wrong with what he said. But when I tell you that something in me like switched, like it literally just, it set something off in me to where I just had this like overwhelming feeling of depression and darkness and sadness, because I realized that I had nobody who was going to be introducing, that I would be able to talk to the CO about, or introduce myself with, because my mom and dad aren't in it, my sister's not in it, and I looked around and everybody had someone, no matter who that was, whether that was a sibling, a mother, father, a husband, aunt, uncle, cousin, something. We have like entire like families in my congregation, so it's like everybody had someone except for me. And it messed me up. I was considering, also considering that, am I going to be without my parents in the new system because they don't believe? Are they going to be destroyed? Am I always going to be alone like this? Is anything ever going to work out for me? Am I ever going to find someone who actually wants to marry me so that I don't have to do this by myself? Those were like a lot of things that went through my mind, and it was so bad that I got to a point where I was just like, I don't really know what else to do. So, in the congregation, we're told to go to the elders. The elders are supposed to be spiritual guides for us. And I decided to ask for a shepherding call. It was the first shepherding call that I'd ever had. And mind you, I got baptized in 2020. I also came across the Shepherding the Flock of God book online, which is like the elders manual that has all of their like rules and regulations and how they're supposed to, deal with things in the congregation. And I saw that elders are supposed to meet with a newly baptized publisher. That's what you're called once you're baptized. You're called a publisher. Before, you're called an unbaptized publisher. It just means you report time. And which we don't do anymore. Jehovah's Witnesses don't do anymore. I'm not the we. I'm no longer the we, because I'm posting this video after I've already disassociated. So yeah, so they're supposed to meet with a newly baptized publisher a year after baptism. Y'all, it's 2023. I'd been baptized for almost 3 years at that point, and nobody had ever reached out to me to have a shepherding call. And at that time, I didn't even know that they were supposed to. But I had to ask for one. And in the course of that, I was crying, and I will say that my elder body seemed they're very warm. There was, I hadn't had any particularly negative experiences with anyone on my elder body at all. I will say that I think that they're not equipped to handle a lot of the things that people in the congregation are dealing with, because essentially the solution and the advice given to anyone dealing with anything is read the Bible more, pray more, go out and service more, make sure you're at the meetings and comment. Everything is related to your spirituality, so to speak. Oh, you're sad? You're not studying enough. Oh, your life isn't going very well. You're having you lost your job? Well, rely on Jehovah. You're not relying on Jehovah. If you relied on Jehovah, then you wouldn't be so sad about this. basically it's like everything, it's like you're never doing enough. Everything is always like, you're feeling this way because you're not doing everything that you could to, give Jehovah something to bless, essentially. And the brothers in my congregation told me, they're like, we just always assume you got it all together. Like, and we're sorry for just assuming that. And I'm like, yeah, well, I don't. I'm actually a hot mess inside. I am literally a mess. So they had told me that they would, do a better job of checking in. And so I was like, okay, cool, great. So at the end of that, I guess I felt better. It's kind of that placebo effect. It's like you're told that a shepherding call will help. So when you have one, it really seems like it does. So I move on with my life. And I think it's maybe a week and a half, 2 weeks later, where I get a text from one of the elders in my congregation. And he tells me that they want me to do an experience on the assembly. And I'm like, me? What? Assembly. So like an assembly is essentially, it's a gathering of, what is it, like, I don't know, I guess it's like 12 to 13 congregations, maybe up to 15 congregations, and they meet for a day. They used to be 2 days, but now it's just 1 day, and they meet for a day of like talks and interviews and like Bible discussions. And during this, they'll have interviews with people who are, like the ideal Jehovah's Witnesses, or like doing something great or overcoming something and relying on Jehovah and all this stuff. So at the time, I was like, whoa, like me? I was like, Jehovah wants me. And like at this time, I'm thinking, I'm like, I'm nothing. Like why would they want to interview me? But let me tell you, so the interview was basically about how I am the only one who's serving in the truth at the time. And, what that's like, and how my congregation has like helped me essentially to do that. And the way I looked at it, I really didn't see what the point of me doing it was. I really didn't see why they'd chosen me. But the way I looked at it was, okay, well, if Jehovah is asking me to do this, then I will. And if I can help anybody to continue serving Jehovah, then I'm more than willing to. So I did. I remember talking to the brother who was doing the baptism talk, because it was an interview during the baptism talk. And I do remember it just feeling so like scripted. It's like he would have us say there were a list of questions we had to answer like in our interview. And we gave our general, like it was me and like another brother who was doing another interview. Excuse me, I'm tired. Sorry, my dog was judging me. So another brother and I, and we were given a list of questions to answer, and we just kind of gave our like rough responses. But then like the brother has an outline, and as part of his outline, there are certain scriptures that he's supposed to bring out, and certain things that we need to be like coaxed to say, essentially. And so I just remember him, like when I said it, he was like, well, can you throw in this scripture in Psalms? Can you find a way to apply that and make sure that that is at the forefront? And like in all reality, was I thinking about scriptures? No, I wasn't. But it's the way that, it has to be adjusted just so it sounds just right in order to get across their message, which is, Jehovah's organization is what's best, and you need to keep yourself within it, and it's great, and it's going to solve all your problems, essentially. So so that happened, and I went through that. I gave that part. It was cool. It was great. People were really, really loving and kind to me at the assembly afterwards, because I cried, y'all. I cried. It was really emotional for me. At that time, I truly felt, that like the love and the support from the people in my congregation, and just thinking about how far I'd come, I felt the love and I really appreciated it. And so yes, I did cry while I was on stage in front of like 1,300 people. So yeah, that was fun. But yeah, everybody was so kind and so loving. And also, I just want to say that like overall, my experience within the Jehovah's Witness organization has not been a bad one. I don't want to like throw anybody under the bus. Yes, I've had some tiffs with people, disagreements, but nothing that's going to, nothing that was worth me like saying, oh, well, this organization is horrible because this person did this to me. Like I'm not slighted. I'm not burned. I don't feel any type of way. Like I'm not holding any grudges against anybody. Are there people that people that you just grow apart or things happen and you don't really discuss things with them anymore? Yeah, sure. That happens all the time, but there's no like one moment that like pushed me over the edge or I'm like, okay, well, this person did this, so I'm done. Like, I wasn't about that. So I continue to go to the meetings, and I would say it's March now. So I'd probably say about summer 2024 is when things started to, I guess, shift a little bit for me, because I was always someone who would I always did feel like I tried my best to study everything I was supposed to study so that I could give comments at the meetings and do all this stuff. And I got to a point where I didn't feel like giving comments anymore. And I didn't. I didn't give any comments. I remember feeling very bored with the material that we were going over. And because it felt like it was like the same recycled stuff every 6 months, the same stuff over and over again. And I'm like, I'm not learning anything new. And I would find myself on Reddit during the meetings, just looking up, Jehovah's Witnesses. And then it would bring up Reddit, and then, it'd be some people talking trash about Jehovah's Witnesses. And then I'd be like, oh, let me shut this down. This is apostate lies. And be paying attention, because that's what we're told. Anything online, anything outside of gw.org that you see is lies, and it's from apostates, and they are evil people, and we don't need to listen to them or read anything because it can undermine our faith. But my thing is, if the simple words of someone who used to be a Jehovah's Witness is enough to, if what they could say could be enough to make you turn away from the religion, what kind of message are they bringing? Because, if it's that deep that it can make me question my entire faith in my religion, it must be pretty good. It must be some deep stuff. But, they tell you not to look. And for a while I did not look. I just tried to keep myself busy. They tell you keep yourself busy. So I was doing SMPW, which is like the cart witnessing in uptown. I was going out in service. I was going to my meetings. I was, just doing the stuff that I was supposed to do. And I'm going to leave this right here. I'm going to stop here, and I'm going to make part 2. Because I think that's enough for now. But catch me in part 2. Thank you for watching this far, and I will see you in the next one.